Hello, this is Kim Sung-hwan, and this video is to archive the making of my short film, A 3/4 Pints of Desire. The entire movie was shot on the campus of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and it was during the summer of the year 2008. It means it's not even HD high definition, and it was recorded on a DV tape, not on a memory cards. And I knew nothing about filmmaking back then, but I wanted to make one. I wanted to make one about two guys running and chasing to death for a trivial purpose caused by trivial needs. And I wanted to have those two guys encounter one another like they were protagonists in their own film world and come out from them. So here's the beginning shot of Jake's story. I think this was shot on the second level of the main library, and this shot was actually improvised on set. I did storyboard all the shots in prior, but when we were done shooting the scenes there, I felt like it was missing a proper introduction. I wanted to set up the mood for characters crossing each other and bring up some curiosity before introducing the main character for the first time. The problem was that we had about only 2 hours, I think, to shoot on the weekend morning. By the time I wanted to add the beginning shot, we didn't have much time left. And an idea of this long one take following and switching between random students' bags were brought up. We hurried up choreographing each student's timing and walking directions, and I think we repeated again the whole thing whenever a mistake happens or something doesn't work, until the security guard comes in and told us to finish shooting. Here, watching all my friends in this video kind of makes me feel like if I'm in an alumni meeting or something, and I hope this film brought some good old-time memories to my friends as well. Jake is solving math here, and I'm saying just math because I don't think I remember any of that by now. I looked up on Google and I think they are Taylor series, but I can't be sure. Here I try to show how much Jake is getting stressed, both by the assignment and the hot air. As I look back now, I think if I have put some makeup on him to show his sweating, it would be much easier for the audience to understand his frustration. For the music of this scene, I wanted it to sound like a lazy weekend that you don't want to do anything. You want to just chill, but you know you can't, you have something to do. The design idea for these shots here was that Jake tries to escape from the frame, but the camera follows him and doesn't let him go. He even tries to look up, but there's the camera looking down again, like saying there's no way you're getting away from this. And now we move on and switch to the runner side. This was shot in the basement level of the main library and was shot on a different day. Here we are following the librarian's back, and I tried to shoot this part feels like the opening shot of Jake's story to set up the mood that two characters are sharing the same situation and they're going to fight for the same goal later on. This one's titled 3 Pints of Desire because that was about the same volume of the water bottle the character was pouring in him. And I don't know why, but I chose Pints among many other candidates. I think maybe I liked how it sounds. I think I liked it because the letter P sounds as strong as the letter Q does. And I didn't want one title to sound softer or weaker than the other because the characters were going to act like nemesis to each other. And also the letters of Pints looked better than the other candidate units when it's gonna merge with the other title, A Quarter, in the middle of the movie. Contrary to Jake, the runner is drawing a cartoon here instead of any homework assignments because I wanted this character to stand out a little bit more odd as he impulsively decides to steal the quarter coin from Jake and runs away later on. On the storyboard, I remember I named him Paulson, but I think I didn't credit this name and just renamed him the runner because his name was never mentioned in the film. I thought when a new name appears on the ending credit, it might bring some confusion and make people say, "Hey, who's this guy Paulson, by the way?" And I didn't want that to happen. That huge green pen on his hand and all his belongings were chosen to show his character. My team and I brought all the things it might be weird to find out from our bags, and you're gonna see others later on. And now we are back to Jake, and we see his classmate Julie for the first time. Vina, who played Julie, was also an electrical engineering major student, as I was, but she was very comfortable on the set. She told me that in India, some of her siblings were actually filmmakers, and she was kind of used to that kind of shootings, so it was good to work with her.
So hot. I don't know, how about you?
Here we see Zach ad-libbing, and that was better than the lines I wrote, so this was put in at the end.
Nah, water's for swimming or fish, and I'm neither a swimmer nor a fish.
And there's Vina laughing for real as she didn't expect it.
Sounds good. Alright, I have to go find these books. I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Okay?
Besides the camera, I also prepared the hand grip to stabilize the camera because I was going to use for the chase scene. Here you can also see me trying my best to manually minimize the shakiness. Now the characters do the same actions as well. They go for their pockets for the money for the drink, but they both find out they need some more, and they go through their bags. Now two storylines start to appear together with cross-cutting. There is the 3/4 pint Coke I mentioned earlier. This shot actually took lots of time because I was still learning how to use the editing software, and controlling the speed ramps of those red arrows and black blocks around the white fonts were extremely cumbersome. Speaking of the editing software, I cannot remember if I used Adobe's Premiere Pro or Apple's Final Cut Pro, but whichever I used, I did some test shooting and I couldn't control the color correction tools in one of those editing software as skillfully as I could before with software for photographs. By the time we had to shoot, I still wasn't sure if I could really color correct the way I wanted to in the post, and I decided to color correct in camera. I can say that that was a very dangerous method as it's extremely hard to undo the work and alter the colors in the post this way, but it was more important back then for me to make sure that I was getting proper image outputs as I intended. And it was still not so satisfying doing that way, as I had to rely on a small on-camera LCD screen, but well, that's what I did back then. Here Julie enters through the metal detector, and I didn't notice on the set, but that affected the audio and caused very bad hissing as the detectors interfered with the microphone. It was a short moment, and I thought it could be done simply afterwards, but to get rid of that and at the same time keep the vocal sounds alive required me to research noise control tools. I hope the hissing didn't bother anyone. Because this shot of Jake entering the corridor with a quarter coin will appear multiple times, it was kind of important to signal the audience that they are watching a repeated scene. And then after some brainstorming, I then came up with the idea of having Jake whistle. And this was a good learning experience as I only have focus on visual expressions and maybe stuck in it. Now that coin rolling, that was never easy as it ran in all directions, and I think it was Hisu who had to roll the coin again and again, and sometimes she rolled well, but I couldn't follow the speed of the coin with the camera and wasted some good opportunities. I would like to thank Hisu again for her hard work and patience. Here finally the two meet and two movies collide finally. I brought in every possible effect to simulate the image degradation. Now two titles merge and become a new title. In the beginning I even planned to have the end credits of each movie collide and mix up at this point, but that was just too much, so that was excluded. Here the lines are typed in Courier font instead of actual sound. We did actually record the lines on set, but this way it looked better and suited to the concept of having movies meet up and become a new one. Oh, and I just remember during this archiving that the person whose papers get stolen by the runner is Peter Kim, our music director. Now they finally come out of the library and start to run around campus. I think this might be actually a good video for a campus tour if somebody's never been to the campus and wonders how it looks like. Now this place was my friend's house where I stayed for the summer back then, and this was day one of the whole production, and I think we were getting excited and getting nervous at the same time, but we really enjoyed, and I remember it was very hot, but yeah, we did okay. Now talking about music, it was all composed and stylized by Peter Kim. I think we met for the first time at the cafeteria of the dorm called ISR. I always have been a jazz fan, and it was very interesting to actually meet a person who could actually perform jazz in front of you, because all I could hear was from the audio, radio or CD players like that. And we got closer and I ended up asking him to make music for my film, and he said yes, and I was very excited to have him on the team. And then I explained that this is a chase movie and I wanted speedy jazz with hard percussion sounds. And then Peter called some of his friends and started jamming to warm up. And when I was there just to check how they play, I instantly liked the sound and asked some other moods and variations, and they were really good and flexible, I have to say. Here, this was actually an accident. David actually fell, but he kept going acting, and Zach also didn't stop acting. He went along and they finished the shot. This was not planned, but we all liked it, checking the footage, and it's in the final. The chase scenes were all shot for about 2 hours per day for about a week or two, I think, and it was all during the lunch breaks. And after those 2 hours, we all had to go to the classes, and it was very lucky to have relatively steady weather conditions. When it's sometimes cloudy, we changed the schedule and went for the indoor shots, but besides that, we were lucky to keep the continuity of the shots. talking about the camera I used DVX100 by Panasonic. Because this was going to be an action film, I really wanted to use a camera that could shoot slow motions as well. But those ones with such features were outside my budget back then. Now we head into Beckman Institute of the engineering campus, and these shots were done when the day was cloudy, I remember. Making this film, I could also learn how the dynamics in the video can be shaped by varying the distance between the camera, the object, and space around. There's an exclusive one-shot from my friend Steve, who always supported me in making films. Here I wanted to connect two different shots, and this extra shot of a coin locker with the word quarter that I filmed while we were warming up came in very handy later on. Now they are at the elevator. I thought the long chase scene is going to need some breaks in between, and this was one of them. The characters are separated here, and the chase is going to seem to be ended for a short while. There's another exclusive shot from my friend Haim, trying to act natural. Filming these chase scenes also allowed me to realize how important it is to keep the actors' conditions. Not only they must be kept safe, but also they must be helped to bring out the best performances. I always wanted to include a bridge scene somewhere, and this was it. They are going to go outside the campus where no buildings are going to be around, and only two of them will be left to keep fighting. I don't actually remember where this place was, but I remember we borrowed a golf cart for a day to do this shot, and the climax scenes at Quad, the main campus area, later on. To keep the chase ongoing, I knew there had to be some kind of stimulating elements to keep up their desire and obsession for the quarter coin. They started running because of a simple reason, but anger will blind them and nearsighted. The fake chocolate coin was one of the ideas to show that. Now we are finally heading to Quad for the climax, and there's the Alma Mater with three statues, although it appears very small in this shot. This climax was once again one big choreographed shot, and almost all the people in it appear in the end credit here. Some of them were just passing by but were called and asked to play on the set. And there's Jaesung, my friend, on the bicycle. That crowd was asked to repeat the walking. This shot was the one with the same golf cart from the fake chocolate coin scene. And here's another crowd playing with frisbee asked to play on set. And I think that's Theo and Arthur with water guns. Now Jake finally catches the runner and the chase ends. There was actually a mattress for the safety under there, and that's why the shot looks kind of a little tilted up to cut off that. Now the final act begins, and it's gonna show what happens after the chase and what happened before they met at the same time. And these two expositions will run simultaneously and meet up at the end. I know this type of storytelling is something we haven't seen normally in the movies, and it might come somewhat unnatural or strange to some people. But I wanted to make a film that I wanted to watch. a type of film like I wanted to watch, but I could not simply because there's no such thing in reality. I wanted to do everything I was curious about and find out how it would look like. When you watch other films and you might sometimes think, what if they instead did this, or what if they did that? This was an opportunity for me to solve those what ifs by myself. Here again goes Peter's wonderful music. I knew this was going to be a walking scene after the huge chase, so I asked Peter for something like Take 5 by Dave Brubeck, and he gave me this wonderful piece. I don't know if some of you have noticed that the first watching there are my friends Stanley and Hongchul running in the back when Jake drops the coin and crouches down. Besides the Take 5 reference, I also told Peter that I wanted a specific drum sound to stand out, which I had a chance to listen from somewhere. I didn't know the terms for the drum parts, so I had to mimic the sound by my mouth, but it was really hard to recognize for Peter and the band crew, so we went over all the possible types of drum sounds, and this was the sound I was looking for. And if I'm correct, I remember this was called The Ride. I asked them to put some emphasis on this type of sound. On the runner's side, I think Dave injured his ankle when we filmed this, and it was hard to continue filming the chase scenes. I was frustrated as I was saving some big ones for later, and Dave knew it too. I told him that I'm going to try to complete the chase scene from what we have filmed so far, and Dave told me he could still walk. And so we moved on to the scenes going through the vending machines, searching for spare coins. Well, one of the biggest lessons I learned from making this film was that I should not save up the important scenes to the back of the schedule just because they are important. I saved them for later because my team and I were all just starting to learn the process, and I believed we needed some time to go through such a learning curve and do the big ones when we become ready. But in reality, actors get tired, staffs get tired too, and if luckily neither happen, accidents can happen like in this case. I also later found out that industry people usually plan to do the biggest scenes in the middle of the schedule, so that was a painful lesson, but a lesson I could never forget. Now Jake and the runner meet in the corridor once again. They are at the same place, but this time at a different time. The vending machine in the middle across the shots were meant to line up more like one body. Here I should have measured and recorded the positions of the vending machine, the camera, and the actors here. And here they are kind of skewed and out of positions. The two fought for the quarter just to have a can of Coke. Now neither of them succeed to have one. The two have failed, and it seems that everything is over, but now we move on to the epilogue of these stories. And here appears Julie back again with a dollar bill instead of coin. At the moment when the runner finally gives up and smashes on the vending machine, and there comes Jake with a quarter coin whistling. And now we are back to the moment when they two first met. And finally, this was one shot I was most curious about and wanted to see how it would work in reality. This last image was always there from the beginning of the storyboarding. Two characters are looking at different things, but on screen they look like they are staring at the same Coke bottle they desire to quench their thirst. And now the end credit rolls, and here are some pictures remaining, and these are from the rehearsals and the production. That's me on the left and assistant director Hisu on the right. That's Mingun Park, who helped me a lot as well, and me trying to figure out the storyboards. There we go, the storyboards. I drew them as if I was drawing a comic book with text bubbles, and then I transcribed them into scripts and handed them to Zach and David. Looking back at this movie, I really have to appreciate again how much effort Zach and Dave put in for this. We were all amateurs, but we were all very passionate and full of ambitions. They acted like professionals and wanted to do the best. They asked for the retakes, and when the shots were not dynamic enough or something wasn't good enough as we planned, they even sometimes threw some ideas to improve the scene, and sometimes even cheered each other up to go for one more, and it was like that. I've always done individual arts like painting and photographs, and this was my first time to collaborate with others artistically. I was starting to learn new types of artistic joy, and I thank Zach and David for letting me learn that. Well, lots of memories from making this film and lots of joys I shared with my friends. I would like to thank again all my friends who helped me and supported me in making this film. Thank you.